Most men get this completely wrong. They assume that if a woman is interested, she'll make it obvious. They wait for some clear sign, a direct confession, or unmistakable behavior. But here's the truth. In many cases, when a woman is genuinely attracted to you, she'll actually make an effort to keep it hidden. At first glance, that sounds strange, maybe even contradictory, but it's exactly how female psychology works. Women are emotional, yes, but they are also deliberate and strategic. When it comes to matters of attraction, she might feel drawn to you, yet instead of letting it show, she'll disguise her feelings, test your reactions, or even act as if she doesn't care at all. If you're not able to pick up on the subtle signals behind this behavior, you'll probably miss your chance with her without ever realizing what happened. And here's why. Women have strong reasons for being cautious. They don't want to appear desperate. They don't want to give up their sense of power in the interaction. And above all, they don't want to risk rejection. Think about the way dating dynamics usually work. Men are traditionally the pursuers, and women are the ones being pursued. Because of that, her attraction often won't come through in direct words. It shows up in more delicate ways. Through actions, through small shifts in her tone or posture, through tiny signals that most men overlook completely. What makes things even more confusing is how often men misread those signals. Many guys assume she's simply being friendly. Others, even worse, conclude she's not interested at all and back off completely. Meanwhile, the woman who's quietly interested is right there, waiting for him to notice the clues she's been dropping. And to be direct, if you never learn how to read these hidden signs, you'll always feel like women are mysterious, hard to interpret, and impossible to understand. But here's the good news. Once you understand how women actually operate, everything changes. It's like someone flicked on a light. Suddenly her behavior makes sense. You'll be able to tell when she's truly into you, even if she's trying her hardest to keep that attraction under wraps. And having that awareness gives you an edge that most men will never develop. That's why in this video, we're going to go step by step through the real indicators that a woman likes you but doesn't want to admit it. I'm not talking about the basic overused advice like, she laughs at your jokes. I'm talking about subtle, deeply psychological behaviors that women display when they're attracted, but don't want to make it obvious. So welcome to the channel. If you're genuinely serious about understanding women on a deeper level, if you want to stop wasting time guessing and second-guessing what she really feels, then you're in the right place. One of the very first and most overlooked signs that a woman is secretly attracted to you is her nervousness. Here's where many men go wrong. They assume that nervous energy signals disinterest or even discomfort. But in reality, when a woman likes you, her emotions intensify, and her body reacts before her mind has the chance to take control. That's why you'll notice little things. She might play with her hair, fidget with her phone, or make small adjustments to her clothes whenever you're around. These aren't random habits. They're unconscious behaviors triggered by her awareness of your presence. She wants to look her best, and her body betrays that effort before her words do. The tricky part is that while she feels nervous, she doesn't want you to notice. So she'll put effort into hiding it. She may look away quickly after meeting your eyes, or speak in a cooler, more detached tone, all in an attempt to mask the excitement she feels just from being near you. If you don't recognize what's happening, you'll likely mistake her attempt to cover up her nerves as disinterest. But in reality, it's the opposite. Another giveaway is her voice. A woman's voice often reveals emotions she's trying to hide. Her eyes, more than anything else, will always reveal what her words try to conceal. A woman can control her voice. She can control her expressions, even her entire attitude. But her eyes are much harder to disguise. When she likes you but is trying to hide it, her gaze often betrays what she feels deep inside. Let's start with eye contact. Normally, when people look at each other, they'll hold eye contact for just a few seconds before looking away. With a woman who feels attracted, that eye contact has a different quality. Sometimes she holds your gaze longer than usual, almost like she wants to connect with you without saying anything. Other times, she glances away almost instantly, as though the intensity of the moment makes her feel too exposed. Either way, the shift is noticeable. If she looks at you and quickly looks away with a tiny smile, or if she tries to act like nothing happened, that's her emotions slipping out before she reels them back in. Another sign is when she watches you in moments when she doesn't need to. For example, in a group setting, notice where her eyes naturally rest when she's not talking. If her gaze keeps finding its way back to you, that's attraction. Women often check in on men they like, even if they pretend otherwise. Then there's the lingering glance, the moment when her eyes stay on you just a heartbeat longer than normal. It's subtle, but if you catch it, you'll know it wasn't an accident. Sometimes she might even glance at your mouth while you're speaking. That's her subconscious revealing physical attraction, even if her conscious mind is trying to cover it up. Pay attention, too, to how she reacts when you catch her staring. If she immediately looks away, fiddles with her phone, or pretends to be busy, that's not random. That's her covering up the fact that you just noticed her interest. A woman who feels nothing for you won't care if you catch her looking. She'll hold her gaze casually. But if she's attracted, she'll act almost guilty, like you've just stumbled upon a secret she didn't want revealed. Another detail worth noticing is how her eyes respond when you're actually talking to her. Do her pupils dilate? Do her eyes seem brighter, even if her words stay neutral? These are biological responses that she can't consciously control. If her eyes are lighting up even as she tries to play it cool, believe what you see rather than what you hear. Too many men miss this because they focus only on the words, forgetting that women are masters at using language to cover their real feelings. Their eyes, however, are a different story. So remember this. If her words suggest she's just being friendly but her eyes keep finding you, her attraction is there. She may not want you to know it yet, but her gaze has already betrayed her. Body language tells a similar story. A woman's body speaks long before her mouth does. Even if she's determined to hide her emotions, the physical cues have a way of slipping through because they're unconscious. If you pay attention, you'll notice her body often reveals what her words are working hard to deny. One of the clearest giveaways is how she positions herself around you. If she consistently angles her body toward you, even in group conversations, that's not just random chance. People naturally face toward the ones they feel drawn to. On the other hand, if she turns away or crosses her arms in a closed-off manner, that usually signals disinterest. So when she likes you but wants to keep it secret, she may try to appear casual, but her body will betray her intentions. The distance between you is another important clue. Women tend to protect their personal space, especially around men they don't feel attracted to. But when the spark is there, she'll often reduce that invisible barrier. She might stand closer than necessary, brush lightly past you, or lean in when you talk, even though she could easily keep her distance. These small invasions of space are not accidents. They're signs she feels comfortable with you and is drawn closer. Her hands also give her away. Many women unconsciously play with their hair, touch their neck, or adjust their clothes when they're near someone they like. It's not always about improving their appearance. Often it's nervous energy, finding a release. If you notice her fidgeting more in your presence than around others, that's attraction leaking out physically. Another powerful cue is mirroring. When a woman subconsciously mirrors your body language, crossing her legs when you... Another confusing behavior you'll often see when a woman likes you but doesn't want to reveal it is what's known as the push and pull dynamic. This is where she gives you attention, warmth, and signs of interest, only to suddenly withdraw, act cold, or pretend she's not invested at all. For most men, this feels maddening and inconsistent, but in reality, it's one of the strongest indicators that she's battling her feelings for you. Here's how it usually plays out. One moment she's playful, laughing at your jokes, engaging deeply in conversation, maybe even making physical contact like a light touch on your arm. You walk away convinced she's definitely interested. Then, almost out of nowhere, she becomes distant. Her replies turn short, she avoids your gaze, or her energy completely shifts. Suddenly, you're left wondering if you imagined the whole connection in the first place. This back and forth isn't random. Women use push and pull when they're attracted but uncertain about whether it's safe to show it openly. It's a protective strategy, but it's also a test. If she pulls back and you immediately panic, chase harder, or demand reassurance, she knows you're emotionally overinvested. That puts her in the position of control and actually lowers her attraction for you. But if you remain calm, steady, and unaffected by her hot and cold shifts, she realizes you're not emotionally dependent on her moods. That kind of stability makes you far more attractive. Push and pull also has another hidden purpose. It builds tension and mystery. Think about it. If she were completely predictable, you might lose interest quickly. By mixing signals, she keeps your mind engaged, wondering where you stand and how she really feels. That uncertainty creates an emotional charge that holds your attention. You'll notice this in her communication patterns as well. She might text you with enthusiasm one day, sending long, engaging messages, then take hours to reply the next. She might cancel plans suddenly, only to come back later with even more energy and focus on you. To you, it feels inconsistent. But for her, it's a way of testing whether you'll stay solid regardless of her ups and downs. The mistake many men make is chasing harder when she withdraws. They think, if I just show her more interest, she'll stop acting distant. But the opposite is true. The more you chase, the more she pulls back, because you've revealed that your emotions rise and fall based on her behavior. Instead, the right move is to mirror her energy without losing your confidence. If she pulls back, you don't collapse emotionally. You keep living your life, stay centered, and remain the same person you were when she was warm. Show her that you're not dependent on her approval, and her respect for you will grow. Ironically, the less you chase during the cold phases, the faster she'll come back toward you. So when you notice a woman playing the push and pull game, don't interpret it as rejection. See it as evidence that she likes you but is testing your consistency. The way you respond will either strengthen her attraction or kill it completely. Stay grounded and you'll always come out ahead. Another hidden sign that a woman likes you but doesn't want to admit it is the way she handles jealousy. Most women won't come right out and say, "I'm jealous." That would expose too much vulnerability and risk revealing their true feelings. Instead, they express jealousy in subtle, indirect ways that you need to learn how to recognize. Picture this scenario. You're chatting with another woman, maybe a coworker, a friend, or even just a stranger. The woman who secretly likes you notices, and suddenly her energy changes. She might grow quiet, give you shorter answers, or act disinterested in whatever you're doing. On the surface, she looks calm, but underneath she's struggling with a competitive feeling she doesn't want you to detect. Sometimes the opposite happens. Instead of withdrawing, she might overcompensate by raising her voice, making a joke, or jumping into the conversation so you focus on her again. If she's a little bolder, she might even tease you about the other woman, saying something like, "Wow, she seems really into you." It sounds sarcastic, but beneath it lies the sting of jealousy. Hidden jealousy can also show up through what I'd call mirror strategies. If she sees you interacting with another woman, she may casually mention a male friend, an ex, or even a celebrity crush. She's not genuinely interested in. When it comes to women, the truth is simple. They almost never reveal exactly how they feel up front. Instead, they communicate in subtle ways, through small cues, through indirect behaviors, through patterns that only reveal themselves if you know what to look for. The little things like her staring at you when she thinks you're not watching, or the way she suddenly fixes her hair and posture when you walk into a room, or even how she accidentally brushes against you more than once, none of that is random. These are signals. They are her way of saying, "I like you, but I don't want to risk being too obvious." And the reason most men miss these signals is because they're waiting for directness. They're waiting for her to spell it out in words, to confess attraction the way a man might. But that's not how it works for her. Women live in nuance. They live in subtlety. They move through layers of behavior designed to protect their vulnerability while still giving hints of what they want. This is why the men who truly succeed with women aren't always the richest, the best-looking, or the smoothest talkers. They're the men who can read the hidden language of attraction. They're the ones who can notice the slight shifts, the micro-expressions, the indirect tests, without overreacting, without chasing, and without losing their own center. That ability is what sets them apart. So here's the takeaway. Stop focusing only on what she says. Instead, pay attention to what she does. Notice her body language, her small adjustments, her patterns of attention. They will tell you everything you need to know. And when you recognize those hidden signs, resist the urge to call them out directly. Don't blurt out, "I know you like me." Don't become needy and rush the process. The right move is to stay calm, steady, and confident. Give her space to let the attraction unfold naturally. Because here's the truth. When you learn how to decode what a woman is really showing you, you stop playing her game, and you start winning it. Think of her nervousness around you not as discomfort but as a compliment. Think of her subtle glances as hidden invitations. Think of her playful jealousy as proof that she cares. These things might seem small, but together they paint a clear picture. They show you that beneath the surface, there's real attraction, and once you understand this hidden world, you'll never look at women the same way again. Instead of feeling confused by their mixed signals, you'll start to see them as patterns. Instead of wondering what every little behavior means, you'll begin to recognize the difference between genuine disinterest and carefully concealed attraction. The men who never learn this spend their lives feeling like women are mysterious, puzzles that can't be solved. They get frustrated, they misinterpret friendliness as rejection, or worse, they miss their chances completely because they're blind to the cues right in front of them. But the men who master this skill, they gain an edge that changes everything. They don't need women to confess directly. They don't need constant reassurance. They can read the truth without it being spoken. That's the real advantage here. When you can see beyond words, you're no longer stuck in the guessing game. You don't waste time second-guessing her intentions. You don't spiral into insecurity when she pulls back slightly. You don't get overly excited when she shows a burst of warmth. You remain steady, calm, and confident because you understand that attraction lives in the subtleties. And when you bring that steadiness into your interactions, women feel it. They notice it. To them, it's rare. Most men are thrown off by the hot and cold routine. But when you remain grounded, she feels safe to lean in more. She sees you as different, as someone strong enough to handle her emotions without losing himself. That's incredibly attractive on a deep psychological level. So the next time you find yourself wondering if she likes you, stop waiting for the obvious. Look at the details. Pay attention to her eyes, her voice, her body, her reactions around other people. Watch how she changes when you enter the room. Notice if her mood shifts when you give attention elsewhere. These small moments are the truth she won't say out loud. And here's the best part. Once you start recognizing them, you'll never unsee them. It becomes second nature. You'll spot the quick glance she tries to hide, the nervous laugh, the subtle mirroring of your movements. And suddenly, what once felt like a confusing game now feels like a clear conversation, one that's happening beneath the surface, but just as real as words. Remember, women are not trying to trick you. They're not out to confuse you just for the fun of it. They act this way because it's part of their psychology. Attraction makes them vulnerable, and vulnerability is risky. So instead of stepping fully into that risk, they protect themselves with subtlety, with tests, with mixed signals. It's not malice, it's self-preservation. Your job isn't to expose them or call them out. Your job is to understand, to read between the lines, to see the signals for what they are and respond with calm confidence. That's how you separate yourself from the majority of men. That's how you stop missing opportunities. And that's how you make women feel understood on a level most men never reach. In the end, the truth is simple but powerful. Women almost never say exactly what they feel at first. They hide it. They disguise it. They test it. But if you know how to look beyond the words, you'll see what's really there. And once you master that skill, you'll never be confused by women again. Think for a moment about how liberating this really is. Once you stop waiting for women to be direct, you stop falling into the same traps that most men do. You're no longer frustrated when she acts distant, because you understand that distance doesn't always mean disinterest. You're no longer confused when she laughs at another guy's joke because you know she might just be testing your reaction. And you no longer need her to spell things out in black and white, because you've learned to recognize the shades of gray where attraction usually hides. This shift in perspective changes the way you carry yourself. You stop chasing validation in every interaction, because you know that her behavior often means more than her words. You stop overanalyzing every text message or every pause in conversation because you've learned to see the broader picture. Instead of reacting impulsively, you start responding with calm certainty. That steadiness sets you apart immediately because very few men can manage it. And here's what happens when you begin to live from that place of understanding. Women start to feel more comfortable around you because they sense you're not going to crumble under mixed signals or games. They realize you're not easily manipulated by mood swings or little tests. In fact, you become the kind of man who inspires them to relax, to reveal themselves more openly, because you've already proven that you can handle their emotions without losing your own balance. That's incredibly rare, and it's incredibly attractive. Now think back to some of the subtle signs we've already covered. The nervous gestures, the fleeting glances, the shifts in body language, the indirect tests of jealousy. These might seem small in isolation, but together they form a clear pattern. A pattern that tells you she's drawn to you even if she's trying not to show it. Most men miss this pattern because they're either too distracted by what she says or too impatient to notice the quiet details. But when you slow down and pay attention, you start to realize that women are constantly communicating attraction beneath the surface. And this is where you gain a powerful advantage. Because once you see those hidden signals, you don't need to guess anymore. You don't need to waste time wondering if she's into you or not. You can trust what her behavior is telling you, and you can act with confidence. You won't overreact when she pulls back. You won't chase harder when she tests you. And you won't walk away too soon because you thought she wasn't interested. Instead, you'll recognize what's really happening and respond in a way that strengthens her attraction instead of weakening it. The truth is, women respect men who can read them without needing everything spelled out. They respect men who can see through the surface and understand what's going on underneath. And when you show that kind of emotional intelligence, you stand out immediately. You're no longer just another guy hoping for obvious signs. You're the one who can see what others can't. So here's what I want you to remember. Women are subtle for a reason. They hide their feelings not because they want to play endless games, but because attraction makes them vulnerable. They want to protect themselves from rejection, from losing power, from feeling exposed. But in the process, they still leave a trail of signs. Your job is to notice those signs, interpret them correctly, and respond with calm, confident energy. Imagine this in practice. You're talking to a woman and you notice her tone shift slightly when you give attention to someone else. You recognize it for what it is, a flash of jealousy. Instead of calling her out or overcompensating, you simply smile. Stay relaxed and continue the interaction. She sees that you're unshaken and suddenly her respect for you grows. Or maybe you catch her looking at you from across the room, only for her to quickly glance away when your eyes meet. Instead of doubting yourself, you recognize it as attraction. You don't chase, you don't confront, you just carry yourself with quiet confidence. Over time, she feels safer showing more interest because you've already proven you understand her subtle signals. That's the difference between men who constantly feel confused and men who seem to have an effortless connection with women. The confused men wait for obvious declarations and miss what's happening right in front of them. The confident men notice the little things, trust their read, and never need constant reassurance. That difference is what separates average interactions from ones that actually lead somewhere meaningful. And once you embrace this, your entire outlook changes. You stop feeling like women are impossible to figure out. You stop getting frustrated by mixed signals. Instead, you begin to appreciate the subtlety because it tells you she's interested without her having to admit it outright. You realize that attraction is rarely direct. It's usually disguised, layered, and carefully hidden. And yet, once you know how to see it, it becomes obvious. This is why patience is so important. If you rush, if you pressure her, if you demand clarity too soon, you break the spell. You take away her ability to reveal herself gradually. By now you can see the bigger picture. Women rarely communicate attraction directly. They almost never say, "I like you," at the beginning, because that would leave them feeling exposed and vulnerable. Instead, they rely on nuance. They give off subtle clues, little behaviors, and quiet shifts in energy that reveal more than their words ever will. That's why your ability to pay attention makes all the difference. The men who thrive in dating and relationships aren't the ones waiting for grand gestures or verbal confessions. They're the ones who notice the quick glance across the room. They catch the way her body leans in just a little closer. They recognize the tension in her voice when another woman enters the picture. They don't dismiss these as meaningless. They see them for what they are, hidden signals of attraction. And once you recognize those signals, you stop feeling lost. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop asking, "Does she like me?" Because you can already read the truth in her behavior. That shift in perspective gives you a quiet confidence. You no longer feel the need to push or to prove yourself. You simply observe, interpret, and respond from a place of steadiness. That steadiness is what women find magnetic. But let me make something clear. Recognizing hidden signs isn't about manipulating her or trying to stay one step ahead in some game. It's about understanding how women actually operate. It's about respecting the fact that attraction makes them vulnerable and appreciating the way they protect themselves while still letting the truth slip through. If you approach it with patience and empathy, you'll naturally create space for her to open up more. Think about it. When she fidgets around you, when her tone changes, when she mirrors your movements, when her eyes linger just a second too long. Those aren't coincidences. They're her way of saying, "I'm interested," without having to risk rejection. Most men overlook this, but the ones who notice are the ones who make women feel truly seen. And that's the ultimate secret. Women want to feel understood. They want to feel like a man notices the parts of them that others miss. When you show that kind of awareness, you set yourself apart instantly. She feels like you get her on a deeper level, and that creates a connection far stronger than any line or routine ever could. So as you move forward, stop focusing so much on what she says. Instead, watch what she does. Pay attention to her eyes, her body language, her subtle changes in mood, and the patterns of attention she gives you. They'll tell you everything you need to know. And when you see those signs, don't rush, don't expose her feelings too directly, and don't get needy. Stay calm, stay confident. Let her attraction unfold naturally, because when you can decode what she's really showing you, everything changes. You stop playing the guessing game, and you start stepping into your own power. You become the man who doesn't need obvious signals, the man who doesn't lose his balance when she tests him, the man who doesn't miss opportunities because he was blind to what was happening right in front of him. That's the kind of man women are drawn to, not because he's perfect, not because he has everything figured out, but because he understands, because he sees her without her having to spell everything out, because he makes her feel safe revealing her attraction at her own pace. So the next time you're wondering if she likes you, stop waiting for the obvious. Look closer. Look at the small things. Look at her nervousness, her gaze, her posture, her voice, her reactions, her subtle tests. All of these little pieces fit together into one clear message. And if you can read it, you'll know the truth, long before she ever admits it. In the end, attraction isn't about decoding some impossible mystery. It's about learning to pay attention to the details most men ignore. Once you master that, you'll realize women were never really that confusing after all. They were always communicating. You just needed to learn the language. And once you do, you'll never see them the same way again.